originally in Spanish, between 2018-2019.
About humans who get past the Van Allen bands. After a short time, their DNA gets activated, right? All those people who have gone on the secret space programs never revealed any of this. Maybe these witnesses who revealed all of this are somehow lying. No astronaut ever crossed them. What exactly do you experience when you cross the Van Allen bands?
Nobody has crossed them. They need ultra-secret ship technology for that. It is only achieved with the use of a ship with total toroidal electromagnetic immersion propulsion technology. If they were to enter the Van Allen bands with a rocket ship, first they would experience disorientation. They would see flashes of light in their eyes. This because of the presence of a large electromagnetic source plus radiation. And finally, they would be burned by high-energy ionizing and electromagnetic radiation, several thousand times stronger than the inside of a microwave oven. You can only leave Earth with an advanced ship or portal, and the ships of the secret space programs had both human and reptilian crews. They maintained a frequency that corresponded to them with the toroidal immersion of the engines. The ships themselves maintained what they felt or believed to be natural, a frequency according to them, what we call 3D. The life support systems inside the ships adapted the internal frequency to 3D, because anything higher is invasive for their morphology, especially the reptilian. The engines tune everything inside the toroid to the necessary frequency indicated by the computer. That's why they can exit. They are at a matching existential frequency, so as not to be vulnerable to the Van Allen bands.
Thank you. Your answers really resonate with me.
It's just how a ship works. It manipulates frequencies.
What happens to the reptilian morphology?
Their frequency is lower than human, generalizing. They are affected by high frequencies. It burns them as radiation. They are very 3D, so to speak. In itself, I or any of my companions, as higher frequency people, we are literally radioactive to them. So are very positive humans. That is why it is dangerous for us to walk the earth sometimes. You can, and with a ship it is easy. But you become vulnerable, and that is what they want most. First, they want to lower your frequency so they can attack you, because if yours is too high, you are toxic to them. This includes humans.
Thank you. Another question. Suppose a human leaves the Van Allen bands. Would 12 strands and 24 chromosomes be activated? What symptoms would he or she have? Thank you.
First, you will be amazed to see all when you are away from the matrix frequencies. You will progressively realize that you always had telepathy. You will be in a feeling of bliss and will only wish to know more and more about everything around you. This brings about a very strong and rapid opening of consciousness. And this, at the same time, activates your entire DNA. It is not that it mutates. It is already there in your DNA. It just activates what you have always had. The DNA looks like a ladder with 2 helixes on the sides supporting the rungs. 2 rungs, 1 on each side, 2 helixes. But in 5D, the actual structure of those 2 rungs comes to light or into view, and those rungs in turn have 6 strands on each side, totaling 12. They still look like two helixes, but each one is composed of 6 intertwined like hair braids. The strands are braided, but when their shadow is produced, like from 5D to 3D, let's say, you will see the shadow as a single object, therefore only 2 strands. If you have a steel braided cable, for example, a cable made by many minor ones, like the ones used in a bridge, and its shadow is observed, it will be seen as a single object or solid rope and not composite. That is what happens with DNA on Earth, generalizing. While in 3D state you can only work with 2 strands, even though they contain much more information, in a higher one you perceive them, because, as we have already said, there is more detail emerging as we go up in density. In the so-called 5D, you can have access to the rest of the information that was not possible to access in the lower density shadow.
This further proves that the astronauts never crossed the Van Allen bands because they never described an experience like this.
You can't, despite the tantrums of those who argue that you can. You can't with that technology. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever seen a human outside of the bands?
Yes.
Do they feel like coming back?
Oh no, they do not wish to return.
Well, that confirms even more that they never crossed the Van Allen bands. It would be like a drug for the body, I imagine.
It can only be done with a ship with a specific kind of technology, which they will never agree to have, or the human population will also want it, for purposes that don't suit the cabal. Like a drug?
I imagine that the body would enter into such a state of happiness and harmony that they would not feel like returning, and perhaps they would rather die inside the ship than return. I imagine that they would enter a high degree of consciousness.
Because what you perceive is a lot of freedom, and you have liberated yourself from your fears and your problems, even if you later develop other off-Earth related problems.
Sure, they would have a broader connection with their higher self and would understand many things, a much broader perception, and perhaps they would wish to go into deep space with what little oxygen that they had left, rather than to return to the earthly matrix.